Good evening and welcome as the people have gathered. A long time ago, the celebration was in the church, and many times we get away from our humble beginnings. But we all know that at the end of the day, when the sun goes down and the setting of the sun appears, it is how you bow down to Mother's dust and give praise and reverence to the Most High that is going to continue the story and continue the history of our rich people. To God be the glory. Because those of which that are going to be honored, you find that they have one thing in common, and they all have a Savior that they fall prey to. And sometimes we ask people to P-R-A-Y when they are P-R-E-Y. But these people are P-R-A-Y to make sure that our tradition, that our life, that our customs continue to go on and on and on. And for that, we give God the glory. Yes. I was asked to introduce this program, but this is my last one. And it's bittersweet because I remember taking the mic as the chairperson here, being sworn in when we took our oath of office. And with that oath came a pledge of selflessness. It came a pledge of giving up some nights and giving up some days and some time with your family. But 13 and a half years later, I still give God the glory because it was 13 and a half years of the best years of my life. And in saying that, the reason I asked for a point of personal privilege is because John Navy is not leaving. And y'all should clap for that. I don't care who runs against him. He ain't going anywhere. John always wants to give honor where honor is due, and that's good, and that's what you're supposed to do. But he never takes the credit for himself. But the Bible says that if you lift yourself up, you're going to be abased. But when God lifts you up, then you're going to continue on. So I'm going to use this as a point of personal privilege to tell you about the fight and the plight and honor the man that stood behind this vision. Let me tell you something. If my phone does not ring 5 times a day from John Navy, it does not ring at all. Because he does not want to stop. And the reason why I'm telling this story is because I learned the lesson a couple of days ago about not listening to your body and not stopping. Because you give your all, and people don't realize what you give when you take an oath of office to stand here. You're saying that you're going to take ridicule. You're saying you're going to take scorn. You're saying that you're going to not sleep at night because you're worried about if this person's house is going to flood. You're worried about if this person is going to have money for their child to go to school, if the lights are going to be able to stay on, and then you forget that. Let me tell you what happened to me. God took me clean off my feet, and I hit face first in the mud and lost a minute and a half of my life. I didn't even know what happened because I didn't stop, and that's what he's doing. So I'm asking you, I'm leaving this, and I'm learning to rest. I guarantee you that much. To pray for him, pray with him, and stand by him. Because it's not easy when we stand before the rest and ask for money. It's not easy when we stand up and beg for programs. It's not easy when we're fighting for what's right in the districts that we represent. It's not easy, but he does not stop, and nor do I. So don't ridicule. Stand with him. Stand by him and support the vision. He had a vision, and he said, we're going to make this happen. Okay, John, we're going to do this. Well, you need to take off some days I'm not taking off work, John. Well, we need to do this on a week. And he would not stop. And we went back and forth of what this program would look like. And this is what you see today. We support all groups. We support everything. But doesn't it feel good to have an African-American history program in the Houma-Terrebonne Civic Center? All right. Ain't no stopping us now. In 2008, we changed the guard. In 2012, we guarded the change. I dare you in 2019 to change the guard again. Stand with my friend. stand with all those that are going to run for office and give you the right things and stand in your community and be able to offer you the things that you need, because that is what it's all about. I could care less about the ridicule. I could care less about the scorn, because when I go down at night and wake up in the morning, God gets the glory, and he's going to continue to tell my story. So welcome as we show you the history of Terrebonne Parish.
Good evening. I tell you what, I definitely hate following Alonda Williams. Okay? And look, all the glory definitely goes to the Lord. I definitely won't. If you don't do anything, I tell people all the time, especially when I speak in front of a church, if you don't do anything, just pray for me. I come from a praying family, so definitely just pray for me. One of the things that we wanted to do here this evening was basically honor the past and inspire the future. We have a lot of young people in this community that's doing great things for our community, doing a lot of great things for young people. They're entrepreneurs, they work in education, mentoring. It's time for us to definitely pray and glorify these individuals so they can move forward and stand in our shoes when we're long, long gone. This is about unity, us working together as a community. We want to also honor those people who took the footsteps for us, like Alonda and myself, to follow. The great things that you all have done and still doing need to be recognized in our community. I understand this is Black History Month, but we are making all history, not just Black history. So I thank you all for coming, and I want to give the honor to definitely let the people on the podium do the speeches and welcome everything they need to do. But we want you all just to know that we just want to show gratitude and love for what you all have done and still doing for our community. And we want you to keep doing it. We'd like to welcome Mr. Parish President to come up and say a few words, and then it's going to be followed by Superintendent, Mr. Martin, the Sheriff, and the rest are in the Jules Abraham. Thank you.
Good evening. God bless each and every one of you. My name is Gordon Dove. I'm Parish President of Terrebonne. You know, growing up on Leveron Street, going to Home Elementary, Southdown, Terrebonne High, I saw the changes in Terrebonne Parish as I grew up as a young man and too, not quite old, but I'm getting there. And you know, I was the state representative for 12 years, and of course you saw Terrebonne Parish go from absolutely no protection to a total levee system called Boganza to the Gulf with 9 floodgates built by the people of Terrebonne Parish with a 3/4-cent sales tax in the state of Louisiana with $200 million. We've moved that forward. We've transformed the roads. So, you know, since I was elected, we've transformed roads. When I was a state rep, you know, we're talking about John Navy, every week I'd get a call, where's my $1 million for the community center in Mechanicville? Every week I'd get that call. And then finally, I talked Bobby Jindal into giving, you know, going ahead and put up the $1 million because the governor controls the money. And as you saw, we built the community center in Mechanicville. And that was because of John Navy. Please give this guy a round of applause, because let me tell you something. He doesn't stop. And we have 2 water parks that are going to construction, one on the air base, one in Mechanicville. We have 144 low-income houses going on in Mechanicville. When I was elected, there was a subdivision, as you all know, was built back then. It became dormant. They couldn't finish it. We went in there, Alonda Williams, John Navy. We went in there, we pushed it. Right now, they're building the first of 3 homes. And this is low-income, federally HUD-sponsored homes. In other words, if you qualify, the developer gives the parish $9,000, and the parish gives you back $9,000 to put down on that home, so you could have a home. We're moving forward with that program, summer programs, and children programs that we've done numerous times, working with Rec 11 and all the rec boards, 2, 3. You know, we've moved Terrebonne Parish forward. When I first became parish president, getting with Alonda Williams, John Navy, and the first thing we said, we have a problem in Terrebonne Parish because the chief of police is only interim. So we immediately made him a permanent chief of police for Terrebonne Parish, Mr. Chief Coleman. And he's not interim. He is a permanent chief of police. We moved that forward, and the transformations, as you can see in Terrebonne Parish with the pump stations. Right now, we're working on Gibson. Mr. Lloyd Gibson's been working with me in the Gibson area. Bob Black, we're putting up a $14 million pump station over there. As you know, that the Chacahula Basin's filling up, Shriver, Grade, Bob Black, and other areas, and we're moving forward with that. And our council has worked together. We've moved forward, and it's been a great stride. And with that, it's been an honor. And now I'd like to go ahead and introduce the different elected government officials that has gotten Terrebonne to where we at. Of course, Sheriff Jerry Larpenter, of course, Chief Coleman, Judge Juan Pickett, the Chief Judge of Terrebonne Parish, Superintendent Philip Morton, and Michael Lagarde. I saw him come in here somewhere. It's Mike Lagarde. And together, we work for a better Terrebonne and move Terrebonne forward. Because honoring the past and the future, is for our children. I have 19 grandchildren, and most of them live in Terrebonne Parish, and they're dear to my heart, and that's why I work as diligently as I can to keep Terrebonne going forward for the people of Terrebonne. I'm a lifelong resident, lived here all my life, hunted and fished every bayou, My grandpa Earl Jackson had a farm down Bob Black. I grew up going down Bob Black Gibson, and what a great day. I want to thank Alonda and John for putting this on. We've supported each other and moved Terrebonne where we're at. As you can see, we're painting the Civic Center on the interior. You're going to see a totally reformed Civic Center for the people to use. So with that, I thank you. God bless you. God bless our veterans. And God bless Terrebonne Parish and the people of Terrebonne Parish. Thank you very much.
Good evening. All I can tell you, it's an honor to be here tonight. I'm honored to be here with so many friends. I think I know most of you here. I had the privilege my whole career and time before that to work with you. But tonight, it's about 7 recipients, as I read, getting an award. And, it's really just due to recognize these individuals for what they've paved the way for a lot of others who are coming behind. But, I'm going to say a few words about Orlando and John Navy. I ain't going to say nothing about Gordy, because Gordy said everything about himself already. But he's so well deserved. He's so well deserved to say what he said, because he's done a lot for us. But I've had the privilege of working with Orlando and with John Navy. Orlando, you can't say no to her, because she don't know what the word no means. And we're all blessed to have these elected officials here, not only with us tonight, but what they do for you in our community. We would not be, as far as having what we have, if it wasn't for people that care not about themselves. They don't put themselves first, they put you first. And that's what it's really all about. But it's also about Black History Month. I'm gonna talk about that. I've had the privilege to go to the museum. Sat down with Alvin Tillman and a few others, Miss Colby, and which I already knew. I'm a history nut. I love history. I knew about the fight that blacks had in America, coming from way back, way back. Now, when Gordy talks about his dad had a farm, well, I'm glad I didn't follow my grandpa's footsteps, because he was a blacksmith shoeing mules over there in Berg. And I'm glad I didn't follow my daddy's footsteps. He drove a drag line all his life, raised 12 of us. But I had a couple brothers that followed his footsteps. And I'm happy to tell you that I'm happy to be a police officer for 40 years. And I'm happy that you've had me for 8 times. I'm real happy at that. But it's more important, and I hope that our young children can see the fight, can read history, because I don't think they're following history, the real history in America. You know, a lot of people suffered, a lot of races suffered over the years. A lot of races are still suffering. I've always said if you don't have love in your heart, you can't love nobody else. And that's the problem. If you don't have God in your heart, you're not going to love anybody. And that's the problem we have today in our society. And until we change all that, I would love to see our education system, rather than going to the zoo, maybe they can go to that museum, whether it's Black history or whether it's the Veterans Museum, tour what's history about so that they don't forget what our ancestors went through, the struggle. You know, hopefully America could come together. Right now, it's more torn apart probably than the history of America. We have to come together for each other, not just individuals. And I see the struggle was going on in America, and I'm hoping it could change. I'm hoping it could change because this country is the best in the world. And we talk about, you know, they're talking about buying this and paying that. Of course, if you don't have no money, you can't buy anything. That's why I'm glad the parish government kind of helped us out. We're bailing each other out. We have a lot of endeavors that we do for you, that we've done for you, and will continue to do for you. And that's what life's about. But the 7 that's getting these awards is just unbelievable that I had the privilege of meeting them and knowing you, most of you. I mean, God blessed me. I mean, he has blessed me, not only with my wife, with my family, even though we were too poor, couldn't afford 2 nickels, couldn't rub 2 nickels together. But if you have work ethics and you have your parents put God in your heart, you can achieve anything in America. And that's what I tell all them young kids. And with that said, I thank you, and God bless all of you. Thank you.
Good evening. When I was contacted and asked to be here tonight to say a few words about Mr. James Charles, my first response was, how long can I have? I have known James for well over 30 years, professionally and personally. He served as a mentor to me, a role model for me. I've tried to emulate James throughout my career. I've had the pleasure of working side by side with him for years and years. I know Mr. Charles as an educator and as a person. As an educator, he's legendary. He's being recognized, and I saw on the program, as the first Black superintendent. I never thought of James as black or white. I just thought of him as an incredible educator. I witnessed firsthand his compassion, his passion for kids. Every decision I make, I sometimes, most of the time, preface it with, what would James do? Kids were always first. Now, having said that, Mr. Charles was no pushover when it came to discipline with the children. They knew there was a line and they knew not cross it. He held high standards for all children and high expectations for all children and got tremendous results. As an educator, I followed James as an assistant principal, as supervisor of secondary education, as assistant superintendent, as now superintendent. Same flight path. I will never measure up to his standards, ever. but I have tried to emulate and copy him. And the highest compliment I ever received, someone said, "You and James are so much alike, y'all should be brothers." I took that as a very high compliment, and I answered, "We are." As a person, his character, his amazing sense of humor, his care for humanity, James will always find the underdog and find a way to help him. He has always done that. He's still doing that. I have never, ever, in one time in over 36 years, knew Mr. Charles to ever want anything for himself. Not one time on any issue, personal or professional. It was always for somebody else, and most of the time it was kids. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I don't speak only for myself, although I am speaking for myself, but I can assure you that the entire school system recognizes Mr. Charles as a legendary educator, that our community has been blessed to have served our children for the length of time, and he's still serving our children. He still calls me and says, "You got to help me with something. I need some help. I want to bring some kids here. I want to bring some kids there." He's still working with our kids. I have the greatest respect and admiration for Mr. Charles. And tonight I'm going to say something I've said this will be the first time I've said this, the first time he's heard it. I love you, James. Thank you.
I talked about what happened to me the other day, and I was told how stubborn I am, but blame it on my daddy. He's leaving, and we asked for you to pray. He is going to be checked into the hospital, but he would not listen to us, and he refused to go until he received his award from his dear friend. Mr. Philip Martin, and the love these two shared when he was talking. I remember some other stories, but I just didn't say it. Right now, we're going to hear Melodies of Heaven from Miss Keena Alvis, who was one of last year's award recipients. And she is now, if any of you grew up in the days of Betty Willis and Curtis Willis, and all of those that directed us, Diane, Jerome, you all remember at Dumas, and the things that we used to do, Terry Brown, how they all kept us together. So here is the new Anya Carter, here's the new Betty Willis and Curtis Willis, who's bringing our children together, because you all know they're 25% of our population today and 100% of our future tomorrow. Miss Keena Alvis.
We should all give God some praise. No matter what the atmosphere is, you should want to lift your hands and thank Him because He is a great God. How many know He's a great God? How great is our God? Say with me. Come on, all over the building. How great is our God? Great. Oh, sing with me. And love with me. How great, how great. Oh, you are above all names. And you're worthy of our praise. And my heart will sing. How great, you are great God, you are great God. Come on, give us some. Hey.
Yes, church on Thursday. Yes, yes, yes. At this time, I want to acknowledge any elected officials who's here. To stand up, please. Any elected officials? Thank you. All right, before I give Miss Alonda Williams the mic back, this is a celebration. Don't forget, February the 28th, 219 is officially Frank Lewis Day. This is a celebration. Where Frank Lewis at? This is Frank Lewis Day. All right. We're gonna be honoring him in a little bit, but I just want to make sure you understand that this is Frank Lewis Day, all right?
I was saying the other night in the council meeting when we honored Mr. Frank, I was in Pittsburgh and a couple of years ago, and this former Pittsburgh Steeler shunned us. And I was thinking, because I called my sister who's a big fan, I was like, that dude is old anyway. He probably can't run no ball, and then he didn't want to speak to us. So he heard me saying I was from Houma. So he comes back, and he says, oh, I need to ask you a question. And me, you know, the flesh did rise. I was thinking, like, what? You don't have nothing to ask me, like you didn't speak to us. And then he said, do you know Mr. Frank? Do you know Frank Lewis? I said, yeah, I go to the same church as him, blah, blah, blah. So he was just so excited. I cannot think of his name again. Franco Harris. And then I tell my sister, I said, I don't like no Pittsburgh Steelers. But he did come back. And so many years later, he was still speaking of, and if you know Mr. Frank, he does not like what we're doing. But John and I said it's time for the unsung heroes of this parish to be recognized. Those that open up the gates and other things, not just politics, but in other things. And Mr. Frank is still, we were at a meeting today in Jermaine, you would love this, at LWEC. Still trying to find ways to provide funding for people to go through a line worker program to be able to get jobs that would afford them a living wage. And there was a surprise party planned for him back in Houma. He did all of that, and still today he came tonight and is still humbled. And I was telling the lady, I said, do you realize what today is in Terrebonne Parish? Everybody in the room knew, but because he was silent about it, everybody respected it. So that's why we honor you, because of your humbleness. Wanted, dead or alive, for stealing slaves, Harriet Moses Tubman. $40,000 reward. A Negro slave, 5 feet tall, scars on her neck, a deep scar on her forehead, plain woman of short stature, upper front teeth missing, with a habit of abruptly falling asleep. Sounds like me, huh, Ma? Looks harmless, but she carries a pistol. She had no front teeth, but she led our people to freedom. Tonight it's about you need to put aside your superficial and the artificial and put on the whole armor of God as you lead our people. Tonight it's about leadership and recognizing those leaders in our community who may not have the best of the best, but they have a heart and a desire to serve. Harriet Tubman did not care that she was walking around and she was only 5 feet tall. I'm tall, so imagine this little bitty lady of a small stature carrying a pistol, leading people. Let my people go like the Moses of the Bible land. And she stood and fought with no front teeth. But today we want to sit aside and say, girl, look at what she has on. You think she could have did a little bit better than that? They got a dentist on every corner. She can go and get her teeth fixed. When they're telling us that the person that led us out of slavery did not have teeth in the top of her mouth, I dare you to stand tonight as we recognize these people. They may have the best teeth. They may not have the best clothes, but they have the best heart for leading, because it takes a lot to be a leader. I have been blessed to be in a position to develop people for leadership in their jobs, and it's not easy. But I thank God that he has surrounded me with people that can mentor me and direct me. And I don't care that they are younger than me, my brother. But we're out there trying to make a difference because we understand. And I heard Jermaine Ford at one of our conventions, and I went up to him after, and we were talking about a program that we're putting together. And I said, Jermaine, are you a minister? He said, no, but I'm Holy Ghost filled. I said, tongue talking. He said, yeah. I said, I felt the Spirit when you took the mic and tried to tell these people about Salesforce. I felt like they said, where's Brian Pleasure? Is there one? I felt like it was time to give my life to Christ because you could feel the anointing coming off of this young man and the things that he is doing at SLCC in the city of Lafayette. And he comes by way of my favorite town, Mr. Clarence Williams, Cook County, the largest county in the United States. And everybody who knows me knows I love Chicago. Today you are going to be in for a treat. He is the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Workforce Development at South Louisiana Community College. He is a doctoral candidate. We share a lot of pains, but it's all for the end goal, and it's all to get to the next level and to make sure that people have a living wage. My friend and my brother, after these next two songs you will hear, is none other than, and he didn't want me to say this because he doesn't attain his until December, but we're going to speak those things as they are. Dr. Jermaine Ford.
I just want to say how honored I am to be here tonight. I do come from the city of Lafayette, but I find myself over here quite often eating a whole lot because the food over here is so good. But I want to honor the dais and all those who are on the dais, from our parish president to our sheriff to our deputy to our judges to the superintendents. And I want to say to all those, I'm going to save the other one for last, but I want to say to all those who are in the audience, all of our clergy that are in the audience, just raise your hand if you're any clergy in the room. If you're an elected official in the room, just raise your hand. I want to acknowledge you. All of our business leaders that are in the room, I want to acknowledge you. All the people of Terrebonne, come on. Let me just, come on, wave your hand, wave your hand, wave your hand. To our master of ceremony, thank you, sir, for your hospitality. And to my friend. Now, if you don't know about our great chairwoman, a great councilwoman, great representative, I really hope you go even further than that, because there are other room for you and other elected officials positions. To my friend, Miss Orlando Williams. To my friend. I have to tell you, I've been traveling all over, taking care of initiatives, and when my friend asked me, she said, I want you to come and be our keynote. I said, first of all, I'm so honored. But you cannot say no to Chairman Williams. You just cannot say no to her. She just finds a way that you have to say yes. And so the work that we are doing, she and I both work within the Louisiana Community and Technical College system. She is leading the Delgado Community College, and I am leading the South Louisiana Community College. And we are just partners in crime, making sure we are serving the people with opportunities for jobs. Not just any kind of job. I'm talking about brand new careers that could change your whole life forever. How many people in this room today, you know someone who is either underemployed or unemployed? Raise your hand. If you know somebody underemployed or unemployed, I'm going to tell you, we have a campus right down the road for South Louisiana Community College, right at our Houma facility, and that's our maritime team right there and right here in Houma. And let me acknowledge also my team. Members of my team are here. They're going to get me later, but that's okay. I'm the boss, so they can get me. I told them we're going to go out to eat afterwards. But let me first begin by acknowledging Captain Carl Moore. If you could just stand for a moment, Captain Moore, and just show the people. Captain Moore leads our maritime program, has led it successfully for 20 plus years, and we have opportunities for programs where you can come through to become captains with 6 figures. Somebody say, show me the money. Show me the money. Also, alongside Captain Carl Moore, I have his partner in crime, his Robin to the Batman, Miss Helen McGrath. If you could just stand, Helen. She runs our operations, Miss Helen. And then the other thing that we've done that's so unique, we have 6 business developers that are in the region to make sure to our business community is well served. And one of our business developers are here, Miss Casey Adams. If you could stand for me, Casey. Miss Casey Adams. When they heard that their leader was coming to speak, they said, we're coming. We're coming. I'll tell you, the art of leadership is serving. The art of leadership is serving. I live to serve my team. And if I tell my team, we're about to go to the moon, they say, how soon do we pack? How soon do we pack? So tonight I've been given an assignment. Now I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a preacher, but that's not my assignment tonight. That's not my assignment, so I can't preach tonight. I am a father. I am a husband of 20 years. 20 years. My wife has been with me through almost everything, and I honor her, Professor Kylila Ford, and my 2 beautiful daughters, Kaylin and Casey Ford. Tonight I want to talk to you about reclaiming the mountain by legacy, loyalty, and leadership. Can I talk to you tonight? Reclaiming the mountain by legacy, loyalty, and leadership. Now, there are 7 mountains that we must reclaim. We must reclaim the mountain of arts and entertainment. We must reclaim the mountain of business. We must reclaim the mountain of faith and religion. We must reclaim the mountain of marriage and the family. We must reclaim the mountain of media. We must reclaim the mountain of education. And we must reclaim the mountain of government. Reclaiming these 7 mountains through legacy, loyalty, and leadership. Now, journey with me for a moment. Each of these mountains represent different sections within society that we must reclaim. How do we break into the mountain of opportunity? Now, show of hands again, you know somebody that's underemployed or unemployed. Show of hands again. How do we break that mountain of prejudice, of unemployment? We have to reclaim the mountain. We have to get on board seats. It is not enough for the board to not look like our communities. It's not enough for the school system to not look like our communities. They must, or we must, represent at the top of that mountain what the community looks like. I made a decision a long time ago because I had a crazy 5'3" mama. Well, I'm going to talk about her a lot tonight and talk about reclaiming the mountain. Now, if you don't like what you see on TV, learn how to produce shows. If you don't like what the media is producing, go to school and study broadcast journalism to reclaim that mountain. If you don't like what's in our educational system, go back to school and become the greatest teacher that you can be. Go back to school and become the principal. Go back to school and become the superintendent. Go back to school and become at the top of that mountain. Because if you're not at the top of the mountain, setting a policy is being set for you. We must reclaim these mountains. The first step to reclaiming the mountain through legacy. Now, Maya Angelou said this: if you're going to live, leave a legacy. Make a mark on the world that can't be erased. Now, here's some leaders that left their mark on me. First of all, my mama. My mama told me, I don't care if you're a black man. I don't care if we're living in the projects. We are not a government project. And one day we're going to get up out of here. I'm here to tell you, we done moved up and out. We have moved up and out because I had a mama who looked me in my eyes and said, I don't care if you're a black man. You're going to get up and be something. My mother went and scooped ice cream every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays to get us up out of that projects. And then when she left that, she then became a little bit homeless through a transition. She looked me in my eyes and said, son, you're somebody. Hold your shoulders out. Stick your chest up. Hold your head up because you were made in the image and the likeness of God. You are somebody. Where are my mamas at in the room? Where my mamas at? My wife and my children. Now, I'm going to tell you, to all the men that are in the house, the grass is not greener on the other side. That's just weeds. That's weeds. That's weeds. That's weeds. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers that you're used to. My children. My children. I love my children. I have 2 daughters. I was in the mall one time with my daughters, and I had an elderly woman who walked up to me and said, son, I'm not used to seeing men love on their daughters like that. I said, let me tell you, ma'am, I grew up in a community with a lot of men that looked like me. A lot of men and women that look just like me that love their children, that love their children. Here's somebody else that left a legacy on me. Dr. Marcus Harold Morgan, Dr. E. Raymond Chin, Dr. Joanne Long, Dr. Bill Winston, Dr. I.V. Hilliard, Mr. Richard Charles Smith, Mr. Gil McCoy, Mr. Al Lewis, Dr. Willie Smith, Dr. Natalie Harder. These are the men and women who left a legacy for me, and I have been running with the torch. We are the Miss Jenkins, the Miss Thibodeaux, the Miss Richards, the Miss Moutons, the Miss Perez. With the Miss Burstfield, the Miss Morgans, the Miss Long. Y'all know what I'm talking about because when the street lights came on, we had to do what? We had to go home. And if you were acting up in the community, Miss Jenkins was looking. She was looking. She was looking. Miss Jenkins would spank our butt, tell our mama. And then when we got home, mama said, I'm going to tell your daddy. Oh, Lord, why you going to go and do that? Where the Miss Jenkins at? Where are the Miss Jenkins in our community? Where are the Miss Thibodeaux? Where are the Miss Moutons? Where are the mothers that would stand outside and look through the curtain to make sure that the kids in the community would be doing the right thing? Son, pick that paper up. We don't do that in this community. Journey with me, journey with me, journey with me. The second reclamation of the mountain is through loyalty. Reclaiming the mountain through loyalty. Now, loyalty is hard to find, and trust is easy to lose. Our actions speak louder than our words. My mama told me, son, don't let your mouth crook to write a check that you can't deliver, because your character takes it all the way to the bank. Reclaiming the mountain through loyalty. Now, my mother taught me, and she told me growing up, son, make sure they are glad to see you coming and sad to see you go. Never outstay your welcome, and whatever you do, never waste someone's time, because time is the only thing you can never get back. I've also overheard my leader, one of my leaders, Dr. Joanne Long, she used to say this: how can never been there tell been there how to get there? All right, let's say that. Say it with me, journey with me. Say it with me. How can never been there tell been there how to get there? Y'all know what I'm talking about. You at the family function? The one that's not working can stay out all night. We got to go to work in the morning. I got to go home. Oh, stay out all night. No, I can't stay out all night. I got to go to work in the morning. So how can never been there tell been there how to get there? She can't tell you how to keep your man. She can't even keep her own man. Come on now. I'm just saying. The third step of reclamation to reclaim the mountain is through leadership. We are seeing a deficit of leadership. Now, when and where are the leaders? How are we cultivating leaders to display accountability, honor, respect, and performance? I grew up during an era, I told you I'm going to talk about my mama a lot tonight. I grew up in an era before I rose to a level of maturity where and I'm basically 50, but basically in my teenage days, staying out all night. And then I call myself not going into the Saturday job. My mama woke me up. She said, son, you get up. I said, Mom, I just came home. Don't matter. That job did not tell you to stay out all night. You're going to get up and you're going to go to that job and you're going to give them the best service that you can give. That 5'3" Willa Ford raised me to be the man that I am today. I stayed there all day and I never forgot that lesson. The lesson Mr. Richard Charles Smith taught me as a young professional in my 20s, wearing custom suits in a Mercedes-Benz, and I thought I was big stuff until I showed up late for one of Richard Charles Smith's meetings. And Mr. Richard Charles Smith stopped the meeting and said, son, you're not that important. Mr. Richard Charles Smith said, don't you ever come late to my meeting because my meeting means something. That was in my 20s. At that moment, that was a fingerprint in time that my whole life was changed, that I never was late for another meeting. Because somebody took the time to teach me how to be a leader. Here are 3 other things that my mama taught me about leadership. Make sure you leave them wanting more and not sorry that you came. Son, always do your best. Son, remember that God is watching even when nobody is looking. I came to hear South Louisiana Community College, and I want to honor Dr. Willie Smith. Dr. Willie Smith and I were actually in South Carolina. And we were sitting eating shrimp and grits and some real good food. And he said, you know, I'm trying to do something here within our South Louisiana region to bring jobs and economic boom and growth back because we're going through a slip in the oil and petrochemical, and we have to be able to develop new programs, emerging programs, like what Orlando was saying today about the power alignment program. Let me talk about that one for a moment. See, I have to tell you the truth. When you apply to some of these jobs with their online portals, they don't know who you are. Those are barriers that prevent you from getting the opportunity. But it's because of schools like ours, like South Louisiana Community College and like Delgado, that opens up that door to opportunity, opens up the door to a brand new world. And in the area of the power alignment, we're talking about jobs where the leadership have actually told us that if you try to knock on the door, you have about a 1 to 5% chance to get in. But if you go through these programs at the community college, you have an 80 to 90% chance to get in. We're talking about equity. We're talking about bridging the gap to opportunity. You can't do it on your own. You need somebody to open up the door. Open up the door so that you can, as you're going up that mountain, do not compromise your integrity. Because I was taught whatever you do to compromise your integrity going up, coming down is even harder. And I came here with 3 employees in 2015. I came here with one of the laughing stocks of a community college workforce development program. And I'm here to say, because of the goodness of the good Lord, a phenomenal team of almost 140 people. Now in 2015, I had 3 people. Today I have almost 140 people. I came here in 2015. We were doing grants fewer than $200,000. Today we're doing grants upwards of $12 million. We came here in 2015 and only few people were getting jobs to opportunity in 3, 4, and 5-star jobs. But today I'm happy to say that over 80% of the people that we are helping have jobs in 3, 4, and 5-star jobs. Jobs where they're coming making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. I'm going to leave you with this last story. Because we do make the difference, but we got to reclaim the mountain. I'm going to leave you with this last story. We had a student. This particular student lived in the Lafayette area, and he was homeless. He was homeless. He heard about a program we had at South Louisiana Community College called scaffolding, a 3-week program. You come out making at least $14 to $25 an hour. He heard about that program, and this man is homeless. He went to our local WIOA office, our local workforce office. He said, listen, I need a chance. I need somebody to open up a door. I'm trying to get into a better life. They funded him to go through this program. This man walked every single day to the campus, and then my team helped him to find a different location in a homeless shelter in the New Iberia area. So he went to that, and he would walk every single day to that scaffolding program for 3 weeks. He would walk. He would walk. He said, you know what, I might be going through a bad thing, but I'm not a bad person. I just need an opportunity. I just need somebody to open up a door. So he came every day, and my team worked with him diligently to teach him soft skills and how to interview for a job. And they helped him to get a job. And he finally got a job making close to $25 an hour. Well, he came back in his Escalade. He came back in an Escalade, and he has an apartment now. He has his dignity back. He feels like a man, all because he wanted an opportunity to reclaim the mountain.
The nails on our roof, because we're still working with Fletcher to develop more programs. And carpentry is one of them. But the program he talked about, and I asked John just for that, is why our next honoree is being honored. Mr. Frank controls the budget in Terrebonne Parish for WIOA, and that is a federally funded program that many of us do not take for granted. But if you want to go to school, and if you want to have an opportunity to earn a living wage, then you need to go to the workforce board. You need to talk to Mr. Frank and his team. There is funding for you to come through the programs that we're talking about. And so those of you, John fusses and says that this job has taken me completely away from him and everything else, and he says all you care about is that job. But when you're helping people, like what he talked about, it is addictive. It is addictive. And right here in Terrebonne Parish, we have that same opportunity. The problem has been we don't step out, and it's because we don't know. We don't know. And so we are here, and he is here, and that is why Mr. Frank Lewis is being honored tonight, because he has put in many years of service with the Workforce Board and helped many people. But now there's even more opportunities for you to grow and for you to get a living wage through this parish. 2 weeks ago, me and John Navy passed something, because I found out through a conversation that Goodwill has money for Terrebonne Parish in Orleans. How you do that? So I got with John and took in the parish president, and we took $20,000 and we brokered a deal and worked with the Goodwill Services to hire a full-time employee. Because 2020, 2019, 2021, and all the years to come after I leave, we talked about a legacy, right, Jermaine? We are introducing a reentry program right here in Terrebonne Parish. I don't care if you're an ex-offender, that is the past. And if God has forgiven you, we can't hold you for that. So we are going to train you in Terrebonne Parish to get to the next level. We talked about the elections that's coming up. And there's one that's very important to me. I'm not involved with none of the local races, but you know my friend is on the ballot, and you know that he has been a great governor, and this is not the time for it. But I will tell you what I am doing. I have partnered with Mr. Mike St. Martin. I am opening an office downtown Houma. All you ex-offenders that have served your time, I'm meeting with a group of attorneys that are going to come in. We are going to get you re-registered. That's the only registration that I'm going to have.
Don't leave. Listen, this is so important, because one of the things that I want to acknowledge my team again, because Captain Moore and Helen and our Dean, Anthony Baham, we have a TWIC office. So you have to be able to have a TWIC card to be able to access on these platforms. And so once you come through this office, come on over through the TWIC office, get your TWIC card, because that is something that is an invisible barrier that people don't even know. That's right. And so you help them expunge them records, and we're going to help them get that TWIC card.
And they're going to work.
They're going to work.
So John and I are going to be announcing the times for the office. This is something that has been dear in my heart, and I often said, and Jerome, you know, you and I have had these conversations. I said, I don't want to just do no voter registration, because what happens? People sign up to vote. I'm an elected official. Where's Wayne Thibodeau? We done walked the streets. All of us in here, Alvin, Mike, John, Mr. Cope, we've walked the streets, begged for votes and everything, and people will sign. Mr. Cookie, sign their name, oh yeah, I'm going to register to vote. I'm going to register to vote. They'll register to vote, but then they don't go vote. But if you give an opportunity to an ex-offender to give him the right to life, that's when you give life back to the community. Give them the ballot. And that's what we're doing this year. So we are going to do it the whole month of March. We're going to do it all the way up until the last day that you could actually register. And thank God, if you have family and friends that live in Baton Rouge, support Representative Pat Smith, who is now running for senator in the city of Baton Rouge. She would not give up. She would not stop. She is Rosa Parks of our people, and she got them to ban the box. She has given ex-offenders an opportunity to have a job, to have a right to vote, to have a right to life. And that same opportunity that she gave, she's coming here to talk to us about it and how we can work with that same group of attorneys that's going to do this for us pro bono and sit with these people to help them. If you have served your time and you have gone through your probation period, we are going to sit with you, register you to vote, and not only will I register you to vote in October, I'm picking you up and we're bringing you to the polls. On behalf of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, on behalf of my friendship and my indebtedness to you, we present you with this commendation. I don't want to condemn you. Commendation on behalf of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. And there's a key to the city that I need to deliver to you. So you don't just have to come here sometimes to eat, my brother. You are welcome as an honorary citizen of Terrebonne Parish.
Okay, this is the part of the program where we're going to actually start doing the award ceremony, but I wanted to start off with the founders. This is going to be Chief Coleman responsibility and actually Judge Juan Pickett. But we wanted to just relate to the crowd here that the reason we were doing this, because like I said earlier, we have some people in this parish have done some great things for us that we feel that they need to be honored. This is their just due. And I don't want to just do just on Black History Day. I mean, some of us actually leave here and it's like it went in one ear and came out the other. We got to learn how to love one another, as the brother just said, and that's the one thing we need to do. We're going to hear about some people that's doing some great things in this parish as leaders, as he spoke. As leaders, for some reason, we feel that we have to have a title to be a leader. I'm going to say that one more time. We feel like we have to have a title to be a leader. No, you just have to have a God purpose to be a leader. And if you feel like you need to have a title to be a leader, then get on your knees, please, and pray. Okay? Please pray. No, I'm not going to start preaching now. Okay, Chief Coleman.
Good evening. It's an honor and a privilege to stand before you this evening to give these awards to these organizations who are pillars within our community, a community that is rich with history, a community that is rich with love, and I must say a community that is rich with unity. To start things off, I would like to say, what is a founder? A founder is a label with something of prestige. These organizations that we're going to have come up here tonight and talk about for some brief minutes are of high prestige within the community we serve. It carries connotations of creativity and innovation, determination, intelligence, a sense of fearlessness. Founders create something from nothing. Many entrepreneurship and startup resources talk about founders, but most of them to assume that everyone knows what a founder is. So with that being said, I would like to bring up someone from the Terrebonne Parish Women's Day Association, my Aunt Ruby Hamilton, to talk about the Women's Day Association and receive an award for the foundership of the Terrebonne Women Day Association.
To God be the glory for all the things that he has done. To our elected officers, the pulpit guests, whoever. To Terrebonne Parish Women Association, would you stand, please? In the year of 1976, God laid on my heart to speak to the late Mr. Joshua Mitchell to see if we could start a Terrebonne Women Association. Myself and Sister Jean Williams, we started this in 1976. We had 90 faithful ladies from different churches. We've been together for 43 years. Sister Hamilton, myself, is still holding on to God's unchanging hand, along with our officers. Would you raise your hand, please? My Vice President, Sister Audrey Williams, my Treasurer, Sister Sharon Singleton, my Secretary, Sister Conjetta Williams, my Chaplain, Sister Patricia Brown, she's ill. Where you? Okay, her sister gonna hold him. Our theme is Christian women living, learning, loving, and praising God together. We go from church to church on a Sunday, and we have 12 to 14 different organizations that we donate to every year. Thank you.
The next recipient, we all know that every month the Men Day Association and the Women Day Association conducts programs within our local churches. The next group that we want to bring up, we've seen Mr. Ward Pleasure on countless occasions come to every church in Terrebonne Parish and talk about the Men Day Association. But I believe that our history is in a culmination of those that came before us passing the torch to those that come behind us. Am I right about it? So with that being said, I've heard that Mr. Pleasure has passed the torch to his son tonight, Brian Pleasure, who will come up and talk about the Terrebonne Parish Men Day Association. Mr. Brian Pleasure. Before Mr. Pleasure comes up here, I would like to recognize Mr. Ward Pleasure in the audience. Mr. Pleasure. Put your hands together, Mr. Ward Pleasure, everyone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you this evening as Presenter Chief Dana Coleman shared with you to enlighten you all on what the Terrebonne Parish Men Day Association has done here in Terrebonne Parish. I'd like all the guys from the Terrebonne Parish Men Day Association to please stand. Back in 1972, Mr. Frank Smith had a vision, so he decided and he orchestrated a meeting amongst some brothers in the black church. And what he did was he came up with an idea to give back to the community through the black church here in Terrebonne Parish. Back in 1970, and he became the president after having a committee, what have you. After that, he passed the torch to Brother Joshua Mitchell. which I'm sure that rings a bell when a lot of you seasoned folks in here hears that name. And after Brother Joshua Mitchell passed away in the year 2000, my father, Mr. Ward Pledger, became the president. And since then, he's still held on to being president of the Terrebonne Parish Men's Association. But what I would like to share with you, the most important thing is what they have given back to the community. Between them and the Terrebonne Parish Women's Day Association, I did a little bit of research. I went back 47 years, got my calculator out. They have given roughly $500,000 to organizations, not only locally, not only on a state level, but they have touched folks throughout the nation and also on an international level. They give to organizations such as the United Negro College Fund, the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center, and most recently the African American Museum. And there's countless other organizations that they give to. And by them doing what they do, they touch communities and they touch us as people. And us as people, we need to look at these guys right here. There's a lot of gray hairs. And I notice we as people, we do things on a certain level. The front, all the front here is a lot of older folks. A lot of the back folks sitting in the back are younger. You young folks back there, get ready. You got to get up here one day. Hands for the Terrebonne Parish Men and Women Day Association.
Next on the program, we talking about history, y'all. I would like to bring up the Blaine C. Clay Lodge, number 14, FN and AM, Prince Hall affiliation. It's always the question that's posed: to be one, ask one. So what I would like to do is bring up no other than the Troy Welch, the worshipful master for Blaine C. Clay Lodge, to talk about their organization as well. Y'all put your hands together for Blaine C. Clay.
Good evening, all. My name is Troy Welch, and I'm the current worshipful master of Blaine C. Clay Lodge number 14. On behalf of the lodge and the brothers present, I would like to express our gratitude at the opportunity to share our history in today's program. 136 years ago, a small group of men, 36 strong, decided to avail themselves the opportunity to enjoy the wonderful experiences afforded in Freemasonry. They petitioned Eureka Grand Lodge of Louisiana, and according to record, upon the recommendation of F.R. Wright, B.H. Harris, T.H. Cage, and Oscar Crozier, and a suitable number of candidates endowed with the necessary qualifications were admitted into the fraternity. With help of St. John Lodge number 11 and Hiram Lodge number 12, an occasional lodge was held in Houma, Louisiana, where 36 applicants were fully initiated and organized under the name King Solomon Lodge number 14. Further, and according to lodge records, King Solomon Lodge number 14 was consecrated, dedicated, and officers installed on February 3rd, 1883. Despite many drawbacks and losses in membership during the ensuing years, the lodge didn't fold and managed to sustain operations during critical times in our parish's history. Even through the darkest times, the brothers of King Solomon's Lodge met regularly, buried their dead, and took care of their widows and orphans. Historically, the lodge accepted memberships only of men of good character, who are God-fearing and had the highest regard for family life. Some years later, following the death of past Master Blaine C. Clay, the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of Louisiana granted our lodge permission and authority to change its name from King Solomon Lodge number 14 to Blaine C. Clay Lodge number 14 in recognition of Mr. Blaine C. Clay's Masonic spirit. It is in light of this Masonic spirit that I wish to list 5 significant points to remember about Blaine C. Clay Lodge. Number 1, 136 years of continuous activity in serving our fellow members, their widows and orphans, as well as the entire community. Number 2, attracting men to membership of the highest character and community leadership. Number 3, providing a fertile training ground for countless past and future Grand Lodge officers. Number 4, during the 1960s, when black community leaders had to meet secretly to plan strategies to integrate the city and parish police forces, the public school system, win single-member districts, or fight any other worthy cause for our people, Blaine C. Clay Lodge opened its doors and became a safe haven for activists and a guardian for free thinkers. And number 5, we enjoy today one of the most active and creative groups of young Masons to be found anywhere. So tonight, I am proud to publicly pay tribute to the men that have gone to rest from their labors, for thy works do follow them. And we give honor to those that are still with us, those past worshipful masters whose lives are still full of courage, vision, and deep faith. Thank you for your time in this honor, and God bless you all.
Last but not least, we're talking about founders. Our keynote speaker talked about tonight taking control of mountains. Legacy, loyalty, and leadership. Before I bring this next entity up, I want to let you know, as we reflect on the accomplishments of these founders, I know deep down in my heart that there were others during our history who laid down their lives for the advancement of colored people that went unrecognized. There are many tombs across this great nation where people of color were lynched and buried without a name. Many families broken, many families shattered, and the scars still remain deep in those that are living today. To those well-known pioneers and those that are unknown, my heart and inner soul cries, because this is a part of history that many do not want to talk about. But it's a part of history that no matter what your race is, no matter what color of your skin, what content of your character, this is a part of history that we all should not want to be repeated. The ugliness of America back in those days, we shouldn't want that to be repeated. Amen? Last but not least, in 2015, a meeting was called by Margie Scobie that was held at the Terrebonne Parish main library. The only thing brought to that meeting was a sign-in book, a model of what a museum should look like, and a proposal. The one important person who attended the meeting was Pastor Lewis Clark, who was the secretary of the 5th District Association. Margie welcomed all 15 in attendance, and she introduced the model and idea of what the museum would look like. After the meeting, her prayers were answered. Pastor Irwin Brown came with a contract agreement, and the rest is history. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Ms. Margie Scobie, who is the founder of our African American Museum, the Finding Our Roots African American Museum, which is located in Terrebonne Parish. Come on, y'all could do better than that. This is where our history is recorded in Terrebonne Parish.
Good evening. God is an awesome God. The God I serve, he's here now, forever, and forevermore. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you, everybody that believed in what we can accomplish as African Americans. This museum did not come about on the grounds of just Margie Scobie, but on the grounds of the fact that we have history here in Terrebonne Parish. The kind of history that have never been written in history books. The kind of history that you should take pride in knowing that you, as African Americans, can do no more than walk with your head high and to be proud of who you are as those that built this country, because that is what we have done. So I tell you here today, I thank you now and I thank you forever that you take on as being a proud African American.
First, I want to give all glory, honor, and obedience to God, for truly, if it wasn't for God's mercy and grace, none of us would be here today. Amen? Amen. Look, it's such a pleasure and honor to be here tonight for a Black History Month celebration. But I often refer to Black History Month as Black Victory Month, because if you go back and actually do research and research the history of our ancestors, you will find that our story is one of victory and triumph. What other race and what other entity of people could be taken into slavery from another country, lost 2.5 million people on the voyage here, 2.5 million people, and been placed into slavery for years and years and years and were murdered if they were disobedient. They were beaten and they were mutilated, but yet they were still surviving. After slavery, placed into an era of Jim Crow laws where people were treated unjustly, but yet we survived. And then we went through a civil rights era where we were still treated unjustly, lynched, murdered, but yet we survived. Our story is one of victory and triumph. Before the Bible tells us in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, that we are God's miracles and that we are ordained through Jesus Christ to do the great things that God had planned for us to do a long time ago. Nothing that he planned for us recently. And in not merely 40 years at the end of the civil rights era, they say that in 1968. 40 years later, there was this cool guy that comes along who had the audacity of hope to run for the President of the United States of America and was elected 2 times in a landslide victory. So it's such an honor to stand here today as we talk about the achievements that African Americans did in our community and in our society. It's a time of rejoicing and celebrating those African Americans who gave us hope and who taught us some lessons that we can learn from today along our life's journey. Each year during Black History Month, we recognize the contributions of these great leaders across the nation. And I want to thank the organizers of this event for taking the time to spotlight and to recognize the accomplishments of the African American leaders right here in our own community. Amen. So we just got finished recognizing some of the founders, and we thank them for their service and for their contributions. But there's also another special group of leaders, and that is the young people in our community. And they are quietly making a difference each and every day in the lives of our children. And in honor of Black History Month, the organizers of this event compiled a list of young African American leaders who are giving back to our community each and every day, advocating for their causes and fighting for a better future. You know, when we look at the leaders and the civil rights leaders and the Black history celebrants, you think that they are extraordinary people, and they were. But they weren't born to be extraordinary. They were born ordinary, but through the grace of God, did extraordinary things. And as a result of them doing extraordinary things, they became extraordinary people. And we recognize today some of our leaders, and they're going to be leaders who are entrepreneurs, because we celebrate the entrepreneurs because they're the ones that are creating jobs and hope for our community. We recognize men and women of God, for if it wasn't for God's grace, we would be lost in the desert. We recognize the educators because without education, we wouldn't have the freedom and knowledge that we have today. And we recognize coaches. Coaches are very important because when we recognize coaches, those are individuals who will have a lifelong impact on some of the youth's lives. So now, let's talk about the future. This first recipient, he's a loving single father, special education teacher's aide. He's a coach. He's an outstanding role model, community leader, philanthropist, mentor, entrepreneur, and a mixologist. He performed with such celebrity greats as Kevin Gates, Juvenile, and Lil Wayne. He started the Character Tour, where he would go to different schools in the Parish area, and he would put on dances, and he would give awards to the students for good behavior. His always growing success and popularity have led him to perform at the BET award show parties, the Pelican pregame shows, various spots in Hollywood, and much, much more. And this past summer, this young man sent me a text, and he said, I had a dream of an event that I could bring everybody in the community together, regardless of your race, regardless of your age, regardless of your economic position in the community. He wanted to bring people together. And I was honored to stand on the stage with him in front of the courthouse. And it was amazing because I've never seen those many people gather in the courtyard square for any event. The courtyard was packed. The streets on the side of the courthouse were packed. Across the street, it was packed, rows deep, for the first annual Juice Fest. He had a dream that he made a reality. And in the words of an African-American writer, Langston Hughes, hold fast to your dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Please welcome Justin DJ Juice Patterson. This next recipient is truly a lady of God. I met this young lady when she was in high school, and she was an outstanding high school student. She earned so many honors in high school that so many businesses and entities were dying to put money toward her education to make sure that she reached the sky's the limit. And that's what her goals are. The sky is the limit. This young lady raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships. She enrolled in Xavier University as a sophomore. And how many people do we know start college as a sophomore? And then she ended up working for NASA. This young lady is now enrolled at Tulane University. This young lady's future is truly what she believes. Susan Taylor, an African-American journalist, once said, whatever we believe about ourselves and our ability comes true for us. And this lady is a student, a child of God. She's been raised in a very, very strong family that has given her the work ethic, and she gives back to the community each and every time that she has an opportunity. It's my honor to present to you this recipient, Miss Jeray Williams. All right, this next recipient is a graduate of Ellender Memorial High School and Fletcher Community College. She is a mother of 3. She's a phlebotomist, an entrepreneur, and a community organizer. She is the owner of Toya Toys and All Things New and Beautiful Expo. She organized and hosted our first annual Parish Summer Jam, which was a back-to-school giveaway program with performances and various activities. She also co-hosted the Trunk or Treat Parish Halloween Festival. And her ability to juggle a family, a full-time job, a business, and still give back to the community is how this next recipient is making history each and every day, because that is her doing what is the right thing for her to do. Dr. Martin Luther King said the time is always right to do what is right. Please welcome Miss LaToya Walters. All right, this next recipient is a graduate from Vanderbilt Catholic High School right here in Houma. He's also an LSU graduate, and while he was at LSU, he pledged the fraternity Omega Psi Phi. After college, he went to law school at Southern University, and he became an assistant district attorney upon his graduation. You know, it's an honor because when I left the district attorney's office, the district attorney, Joe Waits, held this position open for one person. And there were many attorneys were trying to get this job, but it was held open for one person, and that is truly an honor. This young man spends a lot of time teaching and mentoring kids. He's adopted Village East Elementary School, where each week he goes there and he talks to 5th grade students in the Project LEAD program, which is a legal enrichment and decision-making program. And when I go to schools all the time, the teachers are asking me, please send this young man to our school. And they tell me that, they say he's a younger version of you. And I was like, I'm not that old. But he's not a younger version of me, he's a younger version of himself. Although he looks a lot like his dad, that's the bad thing. But I want to welcome Mr. Gary Williams, Jr. All right. This next recipient, after graduating high school, attended Sewella Technical College in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And upon returning to Houma, he pursued his passion in mentoring children and giving back to the community. He used his talents in athletics and as an attraction to get young boys to come out and learn a sport, while at the same time, he taught these young boys how to be young men. He coached the Mechanicville Panthers and Village East Seminoles football team, as well as the Bayou Bengals. He created a free football camp when a lot of kids, they pay a lot of money each summer to go to these football camps, and those who can't afford that cannot go. This young man created a free camp for these children. He revamped the Mechanicville Hoyas basketball team, and he created a program called an after-hour homework, where he helped ensure that kids are active in sports, but they were also keeping up with their grades. He is a mentor and a zealous leadership organization. And please welcome Mr. Kenneth Stoves. All right, thank you. The next recipient is a former South Terrebonne High School and University of New Orleans basketball standout. He played professional basketball for 11 years. He's a coach, a community organizer, and one of his events is the Eastside Day, where he supplies school clothes and backpacks and supplies to children in our community. He spends a lot of time speaking to young boys, giving them words of wisdom. Please welcome Mr. Ben Adams. Oh, it's not here. And Mr. Navy's going to accept that from Mr. Adams. All right, the next recipient is a former high school football standout, dedicated to giving back to the community. He spends much time coaching young children on and off the field. He organized back-to-school giveaways where children in the community get the proper supplies so that they can have a great education. He's always in the ear of the young people, trying to keep them on the right path. Please welcome Mr. Barney Celestine. All right, this young bright star attended Alabama A&M after high school and graduated with a Bachelor of Science from Nicholls State University. She assists the elderly and the less fortunate on a daily basis. She is certified in capital funds and public housing, and she is currently the executive director of the Terrebonne Parish Housing Authority. Please welcome Ms. Nikki Gilton. All right, somebody's going to accept this on behalf of Ms. Gilton. Thank you. The next recipient is a South Terrebonne graduate, student athlete, and this recipient attended Nicholls State University. After graduating college, he began working at Charter Communications and became the first African-American supervisor for the Thibodeau-Berg area. And he didn't stop there. He kept giving back. He ventured out on faith and opened up his first Black-owned sports-themed club in Terrebonne Parish called Ballers. He's the owner of a trucking company, and he's a member of TITA. In the words of Colin Powell, have a vision, be demanding. This man is demanding coach of young kids in our community, Mr. Ivan Williams. All right, the next recipient is a loving and devoted father of 3. He is employed as an IT administrator for PCM. He is the founder of the nonprofit organization Unapologetically Intelligent Tech Program, which is a program geared to give technology information to people in the community who would normally not be exposed to it. This guy dreams big, and he wants to give back to the community. In the words of Dr. Mae Jameson, the first African-American female astronaut, never be limited by others' limitations or imaginations. And that is personification of this recipient, Mr. Jarrett Smith. All right, the next recipient is a native of Houma. He's employed by the Consolidated Water Works District Number 1 as a water quality distribution technician, where he is responsible for ensuring the safety of the water that we drink. So we got to make sure he's on his job, right? He volunteers his services in numerous educational programs related to drinking water and has worked tirelessly in our community as a mentor, poet, speaker, and motivator. Please welcome Mr. Travion Smith. All right, the next recipient, after graduating high school, continued his education at Fletcher Community College, where he became a certified electrician. He's a man of God, serving on the deacon board of Dularge Community Baptist Church. He was appointed to the Terrebonne Parish Recreational Board District 11, where he worked diligently and served as a commissioner, vice chairman, and is now chairman of the board. And this recipient understands the importance of educating our youth and is working hard with the Houma Police Department, the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, and the school board to fight truancy. Please welcome Mr. Ronald Rainey, Sr. The next recipient is a young man. He's an educator, coach, and film director. He's produced over 150 music videos and has worked with such great talents as Flo Rida, the Ying Yang Twins, and Dear Silas. He has produced movies and is currently producing TV pilots and developing feature films. In the words of Booker T. Washington, success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which one has overcome in trying to succeed. Please welcome Mr. Derek Dark. All right, the next recipient is a proud graduate of South Terrebonne High School, where he was an outstanding athlete and has been inducted in that school's Hall of Fame. He attended Louisiana Tech University and holds several NCAA records to this day. He then went on to play professional football with the Miami Dolphins and then the Baltimore Ravens before he finished his career in Canada. Please welcome Mr. Philip Livis. Empowered and anointed is the only way to describe this next recipient. This young man was licensed to preach the word of God at the age of 8 years old. And it's so wonderful that not only did he hear the word of God, but he recognized it and answered that call. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a teacher, he's an H.L. Bourgeois graduate, and is currently obtaining his master's degree. He is a servant and leader and a shepherd of a flock at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in New Iberia, Louisiana. Please welcome our own Reverend Mark Lewis. All right, this next young man of God is truly a wonder. He's reared by his mother and grandparents in the church, and he accepted the calling and then preached his first sermon at the age of 12. I first met this young man at Ellender High School, and what drew my attention to him was his size. As a former football player and coach, I saw the size of this young man, and I said, he's going to go somewhere. But when I shook his hand, it was a presence of God around this young man when he spoke, and it just eliminated all around him. So it's such a wonderful occasion here today to introduce to you the pastor of New Zion Baptist Church, Reverend Corian Gray.
All right, this next recipient is an alumnus of Grambling State University, where he obtained a degree in mass communications. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He's the owner of Crank It Up Cuts and Crank It Up Radio Podcasts, and he is in the Crank It Up program. And to let you know that Crank stands for Kinfolk, raising Americans, new kids, intelligently teaching, uplifting people. Please welcome Mr. Kenneth Johnson, Jr. The next recipient is going to be St. Lucie Child Development Center, and it's educating our children, which is the key, because our children are truly our future. And education was so important to the slaves that they risked their lives to develop pit schools where they would dig pits in the ground so that they could learn to read and write. They risked that because they knew the importance of an education. To accept the honors will be Ms. Daniel Davis Kohler. She's a mother of 7. She has a degree in early childhood development, first aid, CPR, and PDS specialist. She is director of St. Lucie for the last 6 years. And her goal for St. Lucie is to ensure that all students continue to receive a quality early childhood education. And also accompanying Ms. Kohler is Ms. Rosalind Richard. And Ms. Richard is a 1990 Terrebonne High School graduate, and she has a child development associate, and she's also in the process of receiving her early childhood development degree. And she's been employed with St. Lucie for 4 years. And look, I had an opportunity to attend St. Lucie's graduation with the 4-year-olds. And these young children know their numbers, they know their colors, and they know their alphabets in English and Spanish. So let's welcome St. Lucie. Thank y'all. The next recipient has an Associate of Arts Business degree and a Bachelor of Science degree in Human Services and Management. She is currently pursuing her master's degree. She was a former executive director of CASA, where she provided a voice in the courtroom for children who did not have a voice. And currently, she is the regional director of Gulf Coast Social Services. Please welcome Ms. Nicole Wesley. Okay. And she's not here today, but someone's going to accept it on her behalf. Thank you, man. Hey, look, when we're finished, I only have 22 more. But we have some food for you after this. All right, the next recipient is also a native of Houma. And from an early age, this recipient understood the meaning of giving back by volunteering alongside his parents in various charitable organizations and working with and advocating for individuals with special needs. His organization is called Zealous Leadership, which sparks creativity in the minds of our youth through educational programs and innovative thought processes. Please welcome Mr. Ryan Charles. This next recipient grew up in Mechanicsville and as a graduate of Ellender High School, and he attended Delgado Barber College and Blue Cliff Technical College. He is the owner of Infamous Style, and he loves pushing kids to do better. Please welcome Mr. Jason Lewis. The next recipient is a devoted husband and father of 4. He created an organization called Bayou Bengals where he mentors young children. He instills into their minds that they can succeed in anything that you do and put your heart to. He is a graduate of H.L. Bourgeois where he played football and track, and now he's employed as a barber with Infamous Styles Barbershop. Please welcome Mr. Dewan Sanders. Is anybody here for Derek? The next recipient is a native from Houma, Louisiana. And every time you see this young man, he's always trying to stop and talk to you about what he can do to give back to the community. Please welcome Mr. Derek Miller. And I don't think he's here tonight, but Chief Coleman's going to accept the award on his behalf. Oh, sister's here. And the next recipient is the founder and pastor of Kingdom Connections. He's spreading God's word on a regular basis through spoken word and through song. He's a community organizer. He's a coach at the Bayou Bengals and the Bayou Saints. But most importantly, he leads by example. He's a community organizer and started a neighborhood watch program and also Night Out Against Crime. Please welcome Reverend Chris Burrell. All right, and last but not least, this last recipient embodies the words of Frederick Douglass when he said, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress." This young entrepreneur has her hands full. She is raising 4 children while her husband is serving in the military in the Middle East. She's a business owner who donates her time and energy to give back to the community. She is the owner of Jasper Rentals, and she has given away over 3,400 snowballs for free to the kids in our community. Please welcome Miss Shatoya Jasper. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our future. Please give them a round of applause.
This young lady was being taught the knowledge of her lineage at a very young age. Her grandmother poured in her all of the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of her family. Miss Margie Scott worked for the Lafourche Parish government as a right-of-way servitude coordinator, being one of the first African-American females to hold that position. Terrebonne Parish School System, McKinley-Vento Homeless Program, she helped organize and work with Hippie Program. Terrebonne Parish Development of Health and Hospital, Louisiana Spirit, the Emergency Management for Archdiocese of Houma-Terrebonne, and the list goes on and on. Where she was instrumental in completing research on the history of the African American Museum of Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. She received an award from AmeriCorps for serving as outstanding leader within her community. She worked for Louisiana Spirit and received an award for her artistic work, where she wrote and performed a puppet show that was used throughout the region as a form of therapy for children who suffered from traumatic stress. She volunteered her time and services with Meaningful Minds, an organization that set out to help those who deal with mental illness. As an author, she has written many books, one being The Atchafalaya Riches. Her family history and portrait can be seen at Houma Area Convention Center and Visitors Bureau. This is a PBS documentary that tells the story of her ancestor, the Prince of Africa, Prince Among Slaves, a documentary that was put together and directed by actor and producer Bill Duke and David Dreyer. She had the pleasure of speaking with world-renowned author and poet Dr. Nikki Giovanna, congratulating her on the completion of her book. She was chosen by the local newspapers as winner of one of her many poems. She is the founder of the Finding of Our Roots African American Museum located in this wonderful city of Houma. She received the key to the city for registering one of the oldest buildings owned and operated by African Americans in the Terrebonne Parish. While in the work field, she often wondered, when will the time come for us, the time to say, express and tell who we are as African Americans? Well, that time has come. With no further ado, I present to others, Miss Margie Bailey Scobie.
Margie has a vision that she brought to my attention and I brought to some parish officials. One of the things that we wanted to make an announcement tonight, because of her lineage and her work that she has done in this parish, for them to bring about knowledge and understanding that we don't know. We don't know this if somebody go and research this information. Well, because of that, a few things are going to happen now that's going to, I think, forever change the concept and the way we look at things in Terrebonne Parish and also our Finding Roots African American Museum. We're going to first start off by, I got permission from the parish, we're going to start a African American history and genealogy committee that Ms. Margie Scobie is going to actually lead for Terrebonne Parish. Also went as far as asking her, what are some of the things that she needs to continue her research? And she said she needs a research center. So I reached out to the parish administration, again, the parish government, and next year we're going to dedicate funding to go ahead and help, in addition to the African American Museum, a research center. So she can do the research that she needs as far as African American history. And I want to say that because a lot of people have been wanting to find out their lineage and where they come from. Now you have the opportunity with this research center. So thank you, Ms. Margie Scobie, and thank you for everything you do. Mr. Ernie Brown.
Good evening. Gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a young man by the name of Frank Douglas Lewis. Everyone knows the glory, but do we really know the story? We are recognizing Frank for what he has done. I want to recognize Frank for how he has lived. Frank Lewis has been married for over 45 years. He's the husband of Norma Lewis. He has 2 kids. He's a brother, an uncle, a friend, and a faithful man of God. Frank Lewis is the youngest of 8 children, born in Houma, Louisiana, to James and Bessie Lewis. If anybody knew Frank as I know him, they would know that he is a soft-spoken person, not looking for any glory, honor, or recognition. But we are here tonight to recognize him for being the great man that he is. Frank is a man that treats others with respect. There's a poem that says, I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I'd rather a man walk with me than to just show me the way. Frank Lewis is a man that shows the way by the way he lives. He lives a life of integrity, honesty, and he lives a life of compassion and love for other people. Frank is a wise but yet humble man. Frank is patient and unassuming. He has a quiet demeanor and is loving and caring. Frank is a man that can be trusted 100%. He's old-fashioned. He has manners. He's polite. He's honest. He's considerate. And he will fight for and defend people that he loves. He doesn't put others down by his actions or his words. He reaffirms and he builds up. He's a gentleman. He embraces responsibility. He accepts correction and understands the value of hard work. Frank is a graduate of Southdown High School and Grambling State University. He is the director of the LAT Workforce Development Board and member of the Plymouth Rock Baptist Church. Frank has received numerous recognitions. He is in the State Hall of Fame. He's in the Grambling Hall of Fame. He's in the Southwest Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. He's a member of the Grambling's Legend, and just recently, he was elected to the Black College Hall of Fame for this year. Frank is a two-time Super Bowl champion, playing 13 years in the NFL, 8 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 7 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and 6 years with the Buffalo Bills. He is a two-time Super Bowl champion. He's a Pro Bowl selection, and it is my pleasure, and with great excitement, I present to you my uncle, my friend, Mr. Frank Douglas Lewis.
I would like to thank John Navy, my sister Alonda, for giving me this opportunity to recognize the past president of my president, Jerome Boykin, the son of Hazel Boykin, the husband of Mara Boykin, and the father of Jerome Jr. and Brandon. In 1995, Jerome Boykin was elected as the third president of the NAACP. Today, Boykin remains the president, currently serving 24 years. It's a long time to be a president, huh? Of the NAACP, but not the United States. But anyway, y'all know I got jokes. I'm joking. But I love Jerome. Boykin also is the vice president of the Louisiana State NAACP District B. During his present, Boykin has achieved many goals. Some goals included in 1996, where he challenged the Mardi Gras crew of Terrebonne Parish. These crew was included all white members. Boykin thought that this should change, and he met with the crew and allowed African American to be accepted in the crew's organization. His attempt was successful, and African Americans were able to join the Mardi Gras crew. Another achievement, was in 1997. Sherry Hayes was sentenced into prison for 20 years for a crime that she did not commit. Now, Jerome, if I get in trouble, I want you to do that for me. Because he fought for this girl. So this is the thing. We got to fight for what you believe in. And he fought for Sherry Hayes. Until this day, she was free for 20 years for a crime she did not commit. Right now, she's gone on to glory as we stand here. Also, Jerome, he's going to fight for what he believes in. Jerome believed in that minority judgeship. Everybody knows that's his heart. He believed in it not because he's looking for a judge. We have an African-American judge. He's not fighting for a judge. He's fighting for a district. And that's what he believed in. And Jerome, I got to give it to him. He's hungry for the truth. He's hungry for what he believes in. And Jerome, I stand here today, and I know how you are. You will fight, and you will fight for the right of Terrebonne Parish. Today, I would like to present to you Jerome Boykin, Sr.
The next recipient, I've been knowing quite a few years. Most of her siblings, her father, just a great friend of mine. You know, when you're talking about Frank Lewis, I don't want to take nothing away from him. The only thing different between me and Frank, he was just a better player, a much better player. I always played left out. But I can tell you what, Orlando is all pro. Orlando is Hall of Fame in what she does. Orlando puts everybody first, like I mentioned before. We're nothing. I'm nothing without great employees. Parish government is nothing without great employees. Gordy, I consider a great parish president, but he's got one hell of a team on that council working with him that is moving this parish forward. Orlando is not in the back, she's in the front. Orlando's not just working for her race. Orlando's working for every race in this community, all people. I don't look at color, never did, even though I'm colorblind. And Orlando is just like all of you. But all I can tell you is that I am so proud not only to be here, but to be a friend. And I hope that she considers me like a brother, because I consider her like my sister, one of 12. Like I said, I got a lot of brothers, a lot of sisters. And I got a big family now. I consider all of you my family. And that's what Orlando, that's what she sees in life. It's all about serving. Number one thing with her is serving God. That's all of us. God comes first. And I could tell you, I know that her mother and father is very proud of her. All her siblings is proud of her. All of her systems, she's proud of them, her siblings. And you know, you need people like Orlando in America, not only in Terrebonne Parish, but America. I don't have to tell you what all she does. You know what she does, not only in this community, but on a state level and a federal level. There's not too many people can say that they have done or going to do what she's doing. We only have a handful of people that get elected. And just like she said, you know, we submit ourselves to you. We never get criticism. You know, being an elected official, you don't get criticized at all. Those of you that put yourself there and ran for public office, whether you succeed or not, you know a little bit about what we go through. Orlando pushes that aside and shoots straight. And what she's going to tell you if she can help you, she's going to tell you if she can't. But I can tell you what, she's touched the lives of about everybody in this parish. I can assure you that. And we talk about all these other recipients, all these young people coming up. Oh, it feels so good to hear what they've done, where they're going in the future. We all of us that are serving will not be here forever. We need our young kids. And if we don't mentor them at an early age, then we're going to have problems down the road. We all talk about unity and everything else. But I'm very proud to say that Orlando has, I'm telling you, without her guidance, even helping me, I mean, even myself as a sheriff, this lady has guided me in the right directions many a times, just like she's done with all of us in here. And don't be fooled. She is not for the glory. She's for the glory of giving you the glory and all the wisdom of our youth and everybody in this parish. And I tell you what, I can't be more honored to honor anybody as announcing Orlando as a recipient for this program, for this organization. She is just a great person. And I would say that this is a Hall of Fame. Is this the first, as I understand? Well, you are the first. You with the rest. And I think it's a great honor.
This concludes our program because I'm hungry. Where's the pastor to come bless the food, please? Pastor Gray. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Appreciate this program. We're going to be doing this every year as we have been doing. So thank God that we have a place to come to, and thank all you all for coming.